Hello again. Oh, how many times? A hat trick today. Hat trick. Welcome to the fun, frank, fulsome forensic review of Lucky Day. You know where to be. We're going to give it in full barrels tonight. Episode 4 of Ncuti Season 2, but he wasn't really in it much, eh? A Dr Lite episode. We are the sense sphere, talking sense, making sense of all the nonsense. It's the only place to be tonight, so you're in the right place. If you want detail, debate, passion, fun, God knows everything in between, you've found your home. So click on those notifications, give us a like, give us a subscription, tell everybody about us, and we'll get going, eh? Your host here, Brendan, nice little happy Hoovian, happy to share his thoughts on what the hell's going on in this blooming program. Well, obviously, earlier, I wasn't weeding, I wasn't touching grass. I was actually providing another service for you all, which is reporting on the figures, and there they were. And I'm dying to get the panelists on to see what they think of all this one. We've hit another lowest of the low of the low. There you go. So, yeah, check out that show. Me and John really kicked off about that. And it's not getting any better, is it? There's the 4 episodes, 2 million, 1.5, 1.8, 1.5. The average is looking low. Mind you, the showrunner had to do one simple thing. Those dolls, those mannequins, if we just brought them on, it looked like the Autons. That's all we needed. Every Doctor Who fan, sorry, not Rachel, not chat about it, shout about it. Queen of the Woke doesn't like Autons. So apart from that, but when you saw them in that department store, didn't you think, oh, please, that would have really made a good Doctor Who story? But oh no, they wanted to do other things. Autons can wait. So bit of a shame that. Misstep, I think you call it. Missed an open goal there. Now, we have Saturday night breakdowns, but we've also got the 5-minute breakdowns. And I've done the analysis you can expect. I'm saving it for when the panelists come straight on. 5-minute breakdowns. Oh, are they tasty? But if you look at the Saturday night breakdown, Doctor Who is really hemorrhaging now. What was that? 12.9% of the possible audience. Meanwhile, Britain's Got Talent, 32% of the audience. 1% Club, 24%. The BBC News, the Pope is dead now. He's also buried now. We've got no more excuses about pushing up the ratings. That's gone. Casualty is actually doing better than the sci-fi Casualty Doctor Who. We'll have a look at that later. And because Lucky Day just felt okay to some fans, they're all saying, oh, shall we have Pete McTighe as our showrunner? Already. I've got a few issues on that one. Okay, so we'll come to that. She's not saving it. I love her as an actress, Anita Dobson. Mrs. Flood might be a very intriguing possibility later on, but it's not getting the national consciousness talking, is it? Let's be honest. It's just not. The think tank Easter egg, were you all happy with that in Lucky Day? The think tank Easter egg? I tell you what, I'll be truthful with you. He's into a little secret here. That's not the think tank anybody's talking about anymore. It's the Thursday think tank with me and John Yulden. That's the think tank everybody's talking about. Thank you, RTD, for naming an episode and and a concept after our program. Thank you. That'll give us a few extras. So, yes, join us for our think tanks on Thursdays. But, of course, can this program at the moment get any positive news? GB News reporting Shuy Gatwa sparks fury from the BBC Doctor Who fans as he lands the Eurovision role amid anti-Israeli boycott threats. You see, they go one step forward with their progressive thoughts. And, do you know how clever we could have our Doctor Who doing the UK results for the Eurovision straight after doing the episode? 2 things have got in the way. One is if you're progressive, you can't be anything to do with an organisation that has included Israel. And you know the score there. Not going there, but the progressives get their knickers in a twist. Then the other problem is they've decided that the FA Cup final kick-off will be at 4:30. 4:30, 45 minutes first half, 45 minutes second half, 15-minute interval. It's going to get tight to fit Doctor Who on BBC One before the Eurovision starting at 8. Oops. It'll do. They'll manage it, but if there's extra time, Doctor Who is relegated into the bin of BBC 3 or BBC 4. Oh, this is going to get tasty. This is going to get really tasty. So, number one, Ncuti Gatwa is getting it in the neck because he's going to be doing the UK jury results of an organization that includes Israel. And as you know, all the progressives are pushing back on that. So he has found he's had to doctor his profile on Instagram and everything. Have you noticed that? Yeah. What's this got to do with Doctor Who? Well, it's because they're all waffling on about politics all the time. That's why. And of course, with what they're doing with the program, whether it's a cartoon, computer animation, or whatever, we've got the drag queens, we've got this, we've got that, we've got chaos, and that is not helping. So, hello, why are the ratings doing so badly? But if you want a comfort blanket, as you know, on Wednesday night, me and John Daly, who's going to be on in a minute, we just discussed the Doctor Who Monthly and him subscribing and then cancelling. But we got so many viewers because everybody said, oh, that cover, oh, that content. I used to love the Doctor Who Monthly. And it just makes you feel good inside. So you tune into that if you want. And you'll find your regular streamer here, Brendan. I had an amazing question for them. I mean, have you seen? Talk about nerdy, talk about geeky, talk about obsessed. I was fixated on pillars. Pillars. Are the pillars in the Thal City in Genesis of the Daleks the same as the pillars in the 80s TARDIS interior? I mean, I needed that dealt with. And actually, the Matrix data bank of the Doctor Who Monthly answered the question. And they said, bog off, no. Now, what I want from our program, bottom line, manifesto-wise, and I might do a Doctor Who manifesto next week of what RTD needs to do to bail this program out, is if you look at those three enemies of Doctor Who on the left there, it seems that current Doctor Who seems to think that number one and number two are the main villains of contemporary society, that this is what we need to be facing. Daleks, oh God, they're so yesterday, autocrats like that, Omega, Sutek, they're so yesterday. What we need to do now is fight all this, right-rin this and right-rin that. It's pathetic. And this is where we are. Hence why when people like Connor Hex say, oh, in case I've never said it before, Pete McTighe is one of the show's finest writers and honestly would be my top pick for the next showrunner. He absolutely understands the show and has a good balance of being a fan of the show's past, but being able to move it forward. Right, we can all have a vote on that if you want, but I'm not too sure. Right. Shall we get the panel on? Shall we get the scores on the doors? The Tombstone Totaliser? How did their predictions for their ratings go last week? Oh, and our big ratings talk. Oh, and now I think there's going to be some fights tonight over the scores. So, shall we get them on? And you know how we do that. It's a kind of unique wheeze we have. Here we go. I hope John's at the ready. Here we go. Oh, that's a medical issue we might have as well. If I press the right button, we might actually get John on. Poor lad. He'll have peaked early. He'll have to sit down again. Here we go. There he is. Good old John. Evening.
I've been waiting here for ages.
And Michelle sent the scores in. We'll have her opinions later. And here comes the Queen of the Walk. Still reading that book. And Paul's the best dancer of the lot. He's always moonwalking. Here he is. He's moonwalking into our life. Here he is. Be a good show. Here we go. Right, as usual, I think we need to lie down after that.
I do need to return those books.
Yes.
Oh God. So yeah,
it was like reading OT.
We should always ask Paul to speak first after that because he's the one who saved his energy.
Yeah.
So, have you got anything to say for yourself? Wokey's here. If anyone hasn't met him before, this is Wokey Stroker. Say no more. Now, Wokey, what are you doing here? I see it's bank holiday, so he hasn't got homework.
Mr. Brendan, all the trolls are saying you're a bunch of grifters.
A bunch of grifters. I remember I had a bike like that called a grifter.
I thought that was a chocolate bar.
Yeah, well, or a bike.
You're just no better than that comrade in Lucky Day.
Actually, I wouldn't mind looking like him. I can. I'll take a bit of grifting, Rachel. I tell you what.
Would you?
John, you're just as bad. Cancellation culture.
Yes. I'm hoping to be cancelled next.
Yeah, you were scumbag. You're the wrong sort of fan, you, John. Everyone was going mad about you on your Doctor Who Monthly cancelling. I mean,
Yes, I know. Do you know something? And it's still better than what I get called at home.
He comes back for more.
Yes.
But
Hi, Wokey. How are you? How are you?
Oh, we're terrible. We're kept in terrible conditions.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Here in Brisbane, we got a sweatshop.
Yeah, well, get back on that switchboard. We want super chats. Super chats. Super chat game. Super chat game. Super chat game. Yeah.
He's got his man in the phones day and night. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny. I never seem to get any super chats, so obviously something's going wrong. You're on the wrong. Do you know what? Are you going now? Because I get on them phones. Look at all them super chats that are not coming in.
I'm joining a union. It's not fair.
Unions? We don't do unions.
Back to the sweatshop. Get sweating.
Bye all.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Missing you already, whatever you're called, whoever you are.
Wokey.
Yeah, Wokey, go strokey. He's having a stroke, him. Right, so I think it's our burning issue, everybody. Time for us to be calm, time and placid and thoughtful and reflective. Here we go. Yes, burning issue time. Paul's fallen off there. I don't know how that's happened. Oh, it's the size of the thing. Give us a second while we talk. Paul, you're still there. Don't worry. It's done that. And if I do that, it would make it easier for us. So there you go. Nice little gremlins there. So burning issues. John, where would you like to start regarding your burning issues with Lucky Day?
Right. Okay. Let's just park the review of this for a second. Let's go straight to the end of this episode, which is probably the best place to be at the end of this episode, where Shuy Gatwa gives us his sort of magnum opus about what he and the production team think this Doctor is all about. And I'm going to quote what he actually said. I'm fighting a battle on behalf of everyday people who want to be safe and warm and fed. Since when did the Doctor become so bland, so boring as to sound like a politician? Is this the same Doctor who called the human race indefatigable or indomitable or extraordinary? Now we're being told we're everyday people who all we want is to be safe and warm and fed. It's a very small scale and indeed boring, if you like, description of what this Doctor seeks to do. And to be honest with you, that's reflected in the adventures he has and how he copes with them, because he seems disinterested most of the time. And all at the same time of doing this, as you see in that picture there, Brendan, he delivers this address of what his mission in life is, dressed like one of the Dougie Squire's second generation dancers in Seaside Special circa 1977. Whatever this Doctor does to dress like this in his TARDIS when he's all alone at home, I'm not sure I want to know about it, but it looks as though it's 50 years out of date and then of a light entertainment variety. But the original point is, that description of what the Doctor is proves how badly this show is being run, if that's your mission statement for the hero.
I mean, Rachel, I don't know why we had a number one, a Dr. Lite episode, but number two, when you're going to stick him in it, make sure it's a good piece of content. Now, I know when you were on our Who Night last night, and I noticed one or two of your comments, you said this bit didn't bother you. I think it was a slide I was showing maybe, but what about this section here? What I mean, I'm as charged up as John is on this.
Yeah. So I think, I'm trying to remember exactly what I said now. So it was a bit before, when it was just talking in general. That bit didn't bother me, but when it starts talking about like the oppression, us, how he's defending the people who can't like defend themselves. I felt like it's a bit of a dig. It's a bit uncalled for, and and then saying that, like a bit like what you were saying last night, like the streamers, the people who were the naysayers, the anti-establishment people, they were the problem. It's never the people who are being oppressed that are the problem. It's always these people that are a problem, and that's where I had the biggest issues with the political language, I suppose. But the tiny bit before that didn't bother me so much, and then the bit after that bothered me probably even more. Where he's just like, oh, here's the reveal. Spoilers, this is your life.
Oh, I mean, where do you start on this? So in the end, we
when
judge
does
on
he
whether
do
it was,
that?
yeah, we judge it on whether it was enjoyable Who and it was recognizable Who. And I'm sorry, but the Doctor, I'm sorry, he does not. He even feels. I said earlier, he feels sympathy. When he was a second Doctor in the Three Doctors, he felt sympathy for Omega. He feels sympathy for Davros.
Yeah, I was just about to say Davros is a good example of that.
Hepish in The Curse of Peladon. He was on the wrong side of history, so to speak. John Pertwee wasn't happy as the Doctor, but he still talked to him and said, "You wily old bird, you," and all the rest of it, and talked to him. Meanwhile,
he can disagree with them, but not. It's the first time I've seen him do that. Like that.
And it's such a shame. You've actually got Ncuti Gatwa acting angry. And it was a powerful scene. I still think it was a well-executed scene.
Yes.
Well lit up. It was enlightenment too. I liked the angles by the director. I loved the music. The whole thing was well staged. And then he opened his gob.
And in this case, it's not Ncuti's fault.
Can I bring back just to my reason for writing this down is I agree with everything you both just said about what happened either side of this. But let's bring it back to that basic thing. This is a mission statement made by the main character of a program about what he does. And I quote again, fighting a battle on behalf of not the human race, everyday people who want to be safe and warm and fed. It's a very low key, low bar mission statement about, first of all, about how he regards the human species. As I say, Tom Baker thought as to be indefatigable and indomitable and extraordinary. Shuy Gatwa's Doctor thinks this to be everyday. Why? Because this Doctor is better, more special, better dressed, better looking, has better sticky out bits than the rest of us that your mums will wolf whistle at. This is a very sad state of affairs that this program has come to, if that's the mission statement, just in that sentence about what the hero's MO is.
Paul, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, there are so many elements to this speech. It had me going last night for quite a while. But what's your thoughts on it?
I didn't like the propagandizing. I didn't like him criticizing what he saw as conspiracy theorists or anybody who was against the establishment. I found that repulsive. I did like the bit where he dismissed him and said, "You'll die at 49 alone, and all that will be left of you is ashes." I did like that bit. It's not something I want the Doctor to do a lot. It's not that I'm trying to sort of flip the Doctor's personality and make him someone unwelcome in our lives. But this is a Doctor who will eventually turn into the Valyard, and the darkness in him will be distilled when that happens. And I think that ever since the Sixth Doctor, and probably before then, that's been happening. So I'm okay with it now and again, not often, but I'm okay with the Doctor being petulant and nasty now and again. Let's say, for instance, he's trying to stick up for his friends, or if somebody touches a nerve. I don't mind it now and again, because there is that darkness in him. He's been a thief and a murderer in his time, and we mustn't forget that. So there is that darkness in him. There's a provenance to it, and there's context right back to William Hartnell.
I think that's true, Paul. But unfortunately, if we take it to the whole speech and the end of that speech, I think he gets bested by this character, Conrad, because Conrad just smiles, and sort of inconsequential, so what sort of a smile.
I agree.
And the Doctor keeps his fingers in his back. So it seems that the Doctor is unsuccessful in his attempt to make this character feel that his life's going to end up worthless because of the choices he's made. So why bother? You know?
Well, Conrad's not exactly in touch with reality, and it's quite possible that insults of that nature, no matter how deep, it might just not affect him. Conrad gave a good account of himself, but the thing that I liked, and I know it's a strange way to put it, but the thing that I liked is that we saw a little bit of the nastiness that I believe does exist in the Doctor, and he manages to curb it for most of the time and be the person that we know and love. But it is there. It's been there ever since William Hartnell, and it's been allowed to be shown, not often, but occasionally. And I think it's necessary. And I think it was probably quite timely, especially as it was a little bit more condensed due to his relatively brief appearance. So that part of it I liked, but the propagandizing, not at all. No, the messaging in this was possibly the worst there's ever been. And I fully agree about that part of the speech.
What gets me is this is the Doctor defining speech for Ncuti so far. And all credit to, like I said, the staging and the acting in the scene, but not the content. The content made me think, if you just listen to it, I just looked at that transcript, I thought, wow, after 60 odd years fighting every villain and monster in history, the Doctor is most triggered by a lad who sits online doing conspiracy theories. Is this the biggest villain in Doctor Who history? Because I think he's overreacted.
I reckon a lot of this is coming from what's playing on RTD's mind.
Oh God!
Yeah, certainly the propagandizing was definitely. But whether by accident or design, I did like that speech about you'll die at 49. It's not, like I say, it's not something I want the Doctor to do often, and he hasn't done it often in the history of the show. But it is. I'm glad to see it now and again. I am.
I agree with Paul. I agree with Paul. That side of the Doctor does exist, and it's nice to see it now and again. Two things though. One, it's undercut because he just gives, as I say, about the whole thing about what he does, helping everyday people. It sounds like a politician, so it's undercut by that. And secondly, it's badly delivered by this person this actor who's just not doctorish in a costume, which looks he's just come back, as I say, from some sort of nightclub somewhere dancing with Liberace. So it just totally undercuts everything else that they're trying to do here. But yeah, I also believe that this is broader and wider than having a puppet. Podcasters like yourself, Brendan, or people on the internet. This is almost like the BBC saying, don't trust anybody unless it's us.
Yeah, well, and this is it. But this is not where I want the TV program to be, because it's taking a side. It's a bit like when the BBC took a side on Brexit. This is not how we want our national broadcaster to be. We just want Doctor Who to be escapist. I don't want a turf war. I don't want fans. You know, I report the ratings earlier, and Rachel will know this pretty well. Suddenly you get the trolls.
Oh, yeah.
But the trolls are saying things like, oh, I don't like your thumbnail. Oh, I don't like you reporting this. Why do you want to do the program down? I'm thinking, I'm just reporting facts. They've just forgotten that facts is very important to
why do you want to spin the narrative your own way? I'm not spinning a narrative. I genuinely like reporting on ratings. I find it fun.
Yeah. Oh, wait till the 5-minute breakdowns are delicious.
I haven't seen those.
Oh, I've got them already, folks. I'm going to tease you. 5-minute breakdowns, and I've put it in colour. Oh, sorry. I mean, I'm the future. But I think, even though you're all charged up about this speech in different ways, I actually think I'm not going to give him a pass on Paul, I get it. He's an alien. He should be like William Hartnell sometimes, a bit kind of, unpredictable. Totally get that. That is the Doctor.
I think we've lost that.
I just don't understand why he's so triggered by an earthbound issue, an earthbound, not villain. I don't think you can call him a villain. He was arrested because he broke into UNIT, Conrad. I don't think he was arrested because he was tweeting stuff. The point is, the Doctor's more bothered about the whole, kind of history of the universe, and just to be tied down by a kind of contemporary issue bound by a Western society seems very limiting.
Well, it's not too much of a stretch that he felt protective towards Ruby. It could be that. It could be as simple as that. The human side of him.
That would have made more sense.
Became inhuman.
That would have made more sense had it been that speech been all about what you did to my friend.
Yes,
I could
agree.
have got that. I would have bought into that a whole lot more than this other stuff. This is all part of another thing I was thinking about, guys. Why does Doctor Who always have to be about something in terms of an issue? Why does current Doctor Who have to have a subtext, an issue, something else to make us think about something? Why can't it just be entertaining or frightening or thrilling? Why must we always have a subtext or something going on? It's a fault of modern day Doctor Who. Classic Who did it, absolutely did, but it didn't overcome everything else and become the reason for writing the thing in the first place.
It's just, I find it funny. Robot Revolution, we had a sub-agenda of toxic masculinity. Take a look at that photograph and make a decision. Hello, two blokes, head-butting each other almost, hello, testosterone's flying, Shuy Gatwa, you've lost it. Honestly, don't preach to me one week about toxic masculinity and then prize this scene as the Doctor losing his crap. What is that toxic? Rachel, I still think it's a good scene. I just wished all that music and all that lighting and all that acting would have had the content to back it up. That's all.
Yeah, in this case, everything that's going on in this scene is let down by the writing, but then I suppose, I never say an actor is bad. You've got two actors trying to hold it together in this scene, so I'll say no more.
Yeah, I personally,
they're doing their absolute best. I think, I don't know what his name is, but the one who's playing Conrad, really did hold it together. He acting is reacting. He's very reactive in this scene, but he doesn't do a lot with his face.
He reminded me, this speech, I don't know what you all thought, just reminded me of when the Master got the Capaldi speech, and at the end he went, I never heard a word you said. And I just, and it was like that. I thought, that's all Jonah Hauerkin has to do here. And he does. He kind of says, is this an intervention? I loved it. I'm sure John thinks so.
Is this it? I don't accept your reality. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. And it was good because he didn't back down. But then the Doctor had to hurt him. But again, there were plot holes over the place. Is the Doctor Who stalking him and watching over him when he dies in a prison cell? How does he know all that stuff? Isn't he bothered about saving the universe rather than obsessing about somebody who tweets a lot?
Maybe Angie Watts told him.
Back from the dead?
Oh
no, you mean Mrs. Flood?
Angie Watts, yeah. She'll always be Angie Watts.
I thought you meant like her character Angie Watts had come back from the dead.
No.
It's been a long day.
She told him over a pint in the Queen Vic. And Ncuti was beautifully dressed for it. Really nice. Good night.
Very good. I hope he doesn't underdress for the Eurovision, because let's face it, it's all getting built up for that one. Paul Roach, the ratings don't lie. The era is failing. The reasons are obvious. Poor writing and DEI. And don't you wait. The ratings are coming. I know you've seen the figures, but wait till you see the 5-minute breakdowns. Oh,
you tease.
I am. Farsight, the Valeyard is past history. I don't think we can use that as an excuse for losing it. His companions have had horrible things done to them in the past by far worse bad guys than Conrad. Can I just say one more other thing, actually? I said he's not the worst villain in history, Conrad Clark, and I will stick with that. So I don't know why he was losing his crap so much as the Doctor. The other thing is, He even had sympathy for the young Davros. He had sympathy, the doctor, for, you know, he had a bad start in life. He even allowed Margaret Slitheen to start again and be rehabilitated. But oh no, the fact that this lad had been slapped by his mum, maybe neglected in his family as a child, who cares? The doctor no longer is my hero. He does not care. He takes sides.
But what ultimately
Generally
was he
speaking,
guilty of? What's he guilty of, this guy, to deserve
Exactly.
to die horribly in prison at 49?
Exactly.
What is he guilty of?
I don't think whatever impetus the guy presented and however significant his character is, isn't the issue. This darkness in the doctor, to answer Farsight's point, it's always the present history of the doctor, this Valeyard darkness. It's always going to be there. And it's good that's when it's presented. And also, it doesn't matter that the guy was relatively insignificant compared to some other foes of the doctor. It's always in him, and it can happen sporadically and pettily and petulantly. And that I like that. I don't want it to happen too often, but I like the fact that it can happen. And that's what I saw when I looked at that. And yeah, I found it pleasing on that basis.
Now, can I just say, because and John knows this, because when I started this channel, it was quite important to me that we are talking sense, we allow different opinions, and Garbage, bless him, our moderator, says if you disagree in the thread, that's fine, but please don't tell people they're wrong. And it's quite true. That's the wrong way of debating. If somebody's wrong, it just takes the rug from under them. Listen to them and respectfully disagree. And actually it makes for a better debate, because I'm always interested in, you know, I totally disagree with somebody, but why do you think that about the same program I love as much as you? I'm always fascinated by that. And yes, Garbage, quite rightly, nobody's given me any favors, so why the hell we should mention any other channels out there apart from Rachel's here, who obviously we work together. So no way. You know, yes, Garbage, you're quite right. People giving free lifts up to other channels when they don't to me. Yeah, all right. I wasn't born yesterday. Thanks, Garbage. So yes, on the burning issues front, I mean, this speech here, do you know what? If you change the word slightly, it could be RTD saying he's just captured and weaponized Doctor Who. I mean, it's just, you know, cowards like you weaponizing Doctor Who, taking people's insecurities and fears and making it the currency of Doctor Who. You are exhausting me, RTD. You stamp on the truth of Doctor Who. You choke our bandwidth as fans, and you shred our patience, RTD, because the only strategy you have is to wear us down with 2 seasons of Doctor Who, a spin-off, and a few Christmas specials. You tire me out, RTD. There you go. Hey!
Right, is that it? We're off now.
I've been rehearsing all day.
Right, folks.
So what's for dinner?
Yeah, good night. Bye, everyone.
Can we just dance the rest of the time?
Yeah. Now, can I say the other thing before we move on? Because this really peeved me. I'm a politics student and I cannot stand this. Yes, as Garbage quite rightfully said, you don't dismiss other people's arguments as wrong. Equally, you don't say people's opinions are noise. Oh, no, 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 no. How anti-democratic is that? Go on, Rachel.
I don't. Yeah, that is a comment that I didn't like. Okay, so I work full time, so my reviews quite often do get a little bit sort of limited. I have to limit what I can put in, and I did not like that statement, because a lot of people call me a right winger because of my channel. Right? Okay, I'm not right wing. I'm pretty central, actually.
You're the queen of the woke.
I am. Yeah. Yes. Right. You know, and and I felt like this was an underlying message to people and the sort of naysayers that, oh, just be quiet.
Yeah.
Just shut up. And I'm not about that. I think we can all discuss it, be it right or wrong, or it's not even right or wrong sometimes, you know. But I just did not like that.
Exactly, and you're absolutely right there, because part of the sense that the progressive left, and I will use that because that's what they are, it's the progressive left to do most of this, and I'm not right wing either, tend to want to shut people down. And I'll give you an example of that. David Tennant on BAFTAs telling Kenny Badenoch, who's got a view about biological sex and women's and all the rest of it, is told to shut up, you know, because he has a view, she has a view contrary to his. That no, David, that's not the way it works. You're entitled to your opinion, she's entitled to hers, and then the coach can sort it out, as indeed they did. But you know what? David Tennant represents this production team represents David Tennant, and it just shows you exactly their viewpoint is. You can say whatever you like, until it isn't what we believe in. In this case, shut up.
That's why I found it quite funny when early on in my preface, I mentioned that, you know, the progressives don't like the fact that Shuy Gatwa is presenting the UK jury results in Eurovision, and yet it's including Israel. Oh, oops.
And this was poor Shuy. You have to feel sorry for him. He had a choice to make. Do I go into Eurovision and maybe show sympathy for Israel, or wear the nice outfit? The nice outfit won.
I'm sure he's ordered it already.
Yeah. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. And regardless of how meta that's going to be, because that is going to be meta, at the end of the day, it's a job and he's getting paid to do it. And I'm sure that he will like doing it. I'm sure of that. You know, and just because he doesn't have the right view, well, no, sorry, not just because he doesn't have the right view. I don't know what his views are on that, but just because he's doing that, they say, "Oh no, you're a traitor. You suddenly have the wrong view just because you're doing that." It's a bit like
cancel him, get him cancelled.
Yeah. That I hope. Well, no, I don't like cancel. So, yeah, it's horrible, but it's a bit like that. I have access to a full list of the open letter from the people in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
And I've seen over 1,000 names on that list. And one of them that's signed is Papa Estiadu, is going to be the Black Severus Snape, which a lot of people have disagreed with. And people are going, well, you've agreed to do that for J.K. Rowling. Now you're signing that. That's wrong.
And Squinty Mint, I agree with you. The noise comments, understandable from the internet, is overwhelming perspective, but it is an elitist method of communication making a point, which is a problem. I don't like the doctor is taking the wrong side, is my issue here. He's taken the side of the elite. He's taken the side of those in power who don't like to hear noise, which is called, I think, criticism and objectivity and a contrary opinion, and they can't deal with it. You know, I just think it's the wrong choice of word. It's very poor writing that. And then comes this noise. I mean, how to really destroy somebody in an argument and say, I can hear something. I mean, they did it with Capaldi, and when the master said that, I didn't hear a thing. You know, there was a gnat in my ear. It's so dismissive. It's so blooming rude. It was worthy of the master, but I'm sorry, not the doctor. Excuse me. No. So yeah, quite rightly. You brought this up, John. Rachel, you brought up as your burning issue, one of them anyway, was the Dr Lite episodes are better than the Doctor Who episodes.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Why is that a thing at the moment? I just don't get it. It's like, and I don't necessarily see that as a shooty issue, because I know a lot of people would. Personally, I don't necessarily see that, because when he has appeared in the Dr Lite stories, he has given 110% to the scenes that he's in, regardless of what the writing is doing. But why is it that it just seems to be consistently better? The ideas are better, the concepts are better, depending on whether or not they are well executed is debatable. But in all, the ideas and the concepts in this story were really, really good. All by the politics, set that aside, okay. But yeah, it just... Why is it that way? Is it that they just forget how to write the Doctor nowadays? So when they leave him out, they just got an ordinary story to get on with. But when he's back in, they just change everything about him. It's so mind-boggling to me. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Yeah, yeah.
To me, Rachel, and I've said it a few times, I've come to the conclusion that the showrunners of New Who are bored with the Doctor's character and are looking for any excuse they can to hide him in a cupboard, to hide him off that one episode, and to give the companions airplay, because that's the soap opera element, and that's what they know best is soap opera. So what you need is, I mean, I'm a sci-fi fan, just like you are, but we're supposed to be more bothered about what a 20-year-old, the PTSD she's suffering, apparently, than the Doctor solving some issue on some far-flung planet. I mean, really? No, it's not my thing.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just disagreeing with John in the chat. Hang on.
Okay. and the other thing, though, Paul, is I thought the PTSD bit was overplayed. I don't like it. I used to say at school, the kid said, I'm depressed, Mr. Noble. I'm going, well, that's a clinical thing. We don't use that word too freely. I'm suffering from PTSD. Well, if you want to do hyperbole, go for it. Well done in English. That's hyperbole. Trouble is, you're not telling me the truth. And we shouldn't diminish and devalue these words, because if you are bothered about mental health, RTD, don't overplay it in a script. Sorry, Paul.
So did you ask me some? Sorry, what did you ask me?
There's
Sorry.
no question. It was actually a disgraceful statement just to provoke.
Oh, right, okay. I'm so sorry. I was sorry.
You can go where you want, honestly.
Dismissing. Okay.
I can see something.
None of this convinced me. Not a thing. I couldn't wait for this to be over. So none of it convinced me from start to finish. So any sort of incongruities that you've found this time, I'll readily agree with you, because I couldn't wait for this to be gone. I couldn't wait. I even considered. I always watch this on iPlayer with. I'll have my breakfast. I think there's a couple of others in either the chat or the comments who do this. So it's, although Doctor Who belongs on a Saturday evening, absolutely, unconditionally, I have fallen into a nice event TV via BBC iPlayer of just watching this when it gets released. Have my breakfast, have a cup of coffee, have some breakfast. And this is the first time where I wanted to press that 30 seconds ahead switch that they have on iPlayer, or 20 seconds ahead switch. I couldn't wait for this to be gone. I couldn't wait for it. I really couldn't. It didn't have a single redeeming feature for me. And the thing about the twist, I acknowledge that I didn't see the twist coming. But when you don't care in which direction a story is going, then the concept of a twist becomes meaningless. When the twist came, I acknowledged that I didn't see it coming, but I didn't care. All I saw was, I've got another 20 minutes of this, and I can't wait to not see it again.
Rachel?
Now I'm done disagreeing with John in the chat, right? Okay, we're going to meet each other in the car park, right? Okay, and I think part of the reason why that could be, Paul, is because there is no build up with these characters. Pete has like 45 minutes or so to establish these two as a couple, and I think part of this might be. I think I will talk about it later anyway, but it's probably because Millie was leaving. Pete was tired with writing her out, and she wasn't going to be in the first 3 stories, even though I have reason to believe that she was going to be. Something's just telling me that she was. So, you know, he had to just do it as quickly as possible, and I just don't think it helped them at all.
Well,
yeah,
I know.
You're right. You're right.
And I do have a problem. It's 45 minutes long, and for about 20 minutes we had some light, frothy, romantic-y stuff.
That's
and it was just like,
yeah.
It's like, wait, I want something to die. And yet, Paul, the bits I did like, and we'll come to them. I know this is the our burning issues bit, but basically, just so people know, we're not all just venting in such a negative, passionate way.
I will be.
Because it's just Paul. Because I could be accused of being another grifter or a chopper, or I don't know. But basically, in essence, I've lost my gist. Oh, John, I've joined the Synatogen crew. I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Was that a jibe at me?
Of course.
Listen, I was listening to all of that with interest. The whole Millie Ruby Sunday PTSD thing, and I mentioned this to you when I was texting you earlier. I don't even know where this came from, apart from the plot demanded it. The last time I saw Millie Gibson and Ruby Sunday in this, each of her episodes, she was laughing like a drain, loving every bit of it
Yeah.
with the Doctor. And the only reason why she left is because she found a real mum and wanted to put some roots down and get to know her mother. It was nothing to do with trauma. The last companion I remember doing that really was either Martha Jones or Tegan, going way back. So this whole PTSD thing seemed to come out of nowhere, and it was being used as a sort of a hook by the writer to hang a bit of acting that Millie Gibson could do. There was no indication at all during our 8 episodes in the Christmas special, Time with the Doctor, that she was finding this in any way traumatic, or certainly more traumatic than other characters involved. When we last saw her, she was over the moon to be found her mother, and all seemed to be going well. So I don't know where that came from at all, apart from the plot contrived to have it there.
Yeah, and look, with Simon Anthony, I know what you're saying. I think the PTSD comment was justified. I think it supported the pain she felt, as did all the other companions. PTSD is quite a clinical diagnosis, Simon Anthony. She didn't look as though she was bedwetting. She didn't look as though she was having a sleepless night. She didn't look. She was on the raz. She was out. She was going out dating a boyfriend. Oh, God, she looks so... this looks really problematic for her. And by the way, I have little sympathy for even this narrative, because when the Doctor in the TARDIS, he said, back off my companion, you betrayed her. No, Ncuti. You betrayed her in Rogue. Let's get this right. Yes. So basically, isn't it funny how Ncuti's Doctor has suddenly discovered a conscience and safeguarding issues? Yeah. You do that too well, John. You must be up to...
Practice. Plenty of it.
John can be found in many Glaswegian bushes.
But not Melanie.
No. Oh, well, no, she's in Sydney because there's an issue. Sydney has many issues. I don't know if they need Mel, but anyway, she's at Mardi Gras. That's what's happening.
Oh,
so,
sure.
So Eastern Burkholder. So when he's in a scene, Ncuti, he's not reacting the other actor by expertly reacting to the actor who is doing something or talking. Put it another way, Eastlin, and our actress will come in and give us an assessment.
He is not reacting to the actor by expertly reacting to the actor who is doing something or talking.
In other words, he's going through the motions.
I think that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Let me have a think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Garbage here who's doing a very busy job, and thank you very much for all your efforts, Garbage, and please respect him too. PTSD is one thing, but based on the past 8 years of constant disabilities, racism, sexism, and all the other stuff we really don't need PTSD mentioned in Who, do we? It's a bloody sci-fi show. I concur. I have to say, please leave that for the soap operas. They do it better and they spend more time on it properly.
But especially when it's just a fleeting mention and it's treated. And anybody walking away from that will think, well, didn't Ruby get over that very, very quickly? When genuine suffers from this, must feel slighted by this.
That's
my big problem. That's my big problem with this episode. All the pivotal moments were presented on an entirely non sequitur basis. There was no preparation. There was no perspective generated. We were just expected to believe it because they were placed there by the writer. And it just completely made me uninvested.
I think that's the problem, Paul. I think in the end, because there's no development, you just get these thrown at you. And I'm supposed to be the right sort of viewer who goes, oh my God, PTSD. Oh gosh. Oh, I'm with you, girl. I'm with you, girl. And you're thinking, I'm not with you, girl, just because you've mentioned it. She went to a pub. She's going out with her boyfriend. PTSD, my back foot, honestly, taking the mick.
Agree.
As for this, if he was here, he'd be flirting with you. Not my doctor. Excuse me. My doctor would not be flirting with every blooming geezer.
I found that to be absolutely typical of what this iteration of Doctor Who's all about. What does she remember about her time with the Doctor? The fact that he's a gay man who flirts with other men. Not right.
No. So yeah, I mean, I'm sick of this identity nonsense, gender politics. Stop it. The Doctor actually just goes and does boring stuff. He actually just deals with the universe. He has a screw.
He
He has a
helps everyday.
screwdriver.
He helps everyday people.
Of course. He's got a heart of gold. Esther Ranson, give him a heart of gold.
I do.
I mean, and then Mrs. Flood, is she supposed to save the episode? I'm the governor. She clinks some keys like, some child catcher. I love Anita Dobson. I just wish they'd given her by now, Rachel, a whole episode to establish her.
Yeah, I do. It is coming up though, isn't it? In 2 weeks.
Oh, I know, but like Paul's saying, it's like, will anybody be here?
I don't know. What they have started doing though is with the one-liners that they've been given her is, and I think Anita's also doing it as well, is that she's becoming darker. Yeah. So each delivery is a little bit different. It's not, oh, hello, darling, or anything like that anymore. It's very much like, no.
But
I'm getting
for those who are left behind watching this, don't you think a casual viewer, if there are any out there, will be saying to themselves, hold on a minute, didn't they do this last year? Have an old lady appear in every episode and we had to work out what her purpose was. So the chances are that they're not going to be terribly impressed. If anything, they're going to be thinking, Doctor Who's repeating itself. It's run out of ideas. It's getting a bit boring, samey, whatever, because that's what it looks like.
Yeah. And
from Davy's perspective, of course, this will just be a season-long thread, because that's the folly of filming each series back to back. It doesn't give time to adjust and respond to feedback and correct silly mistakes like this.
Yes, hubris, you thought it would be brilliant.
Totally.
Yes,
Now, Eastland Burkholder, thankfully, has got back to us, and I said I'd pass it to Rachel. So, Rachel, are you okay now with what he's just said?
Sorry, Rachel, to clear up my meaning, the actor saying it is doing it looks better due to the supporting actor in the scene reacting with the body language and face and changes in emotional tones. Yeah, so acting is also reacting, but with the going through the motions, you have to look carefully at what Ncuti is doing with his reactions, and his reactions, in my opinion, in that scene are absolutely fine, and I think it supports what's going on within that scene.
I mean, I was happy with the acting, just not the content of what he had to say.
Yeah, and I also think. Oh no, I'll be saying this later anyway. I'll say it later. Yeah.
It was a good episode, I think, for Kate Stewart. I don't know if it was a good episode for UNIT, because UNIT are obviously understaffed. And their security is not very good. They even have a school trip going through the front door.
It was very, very easy to get through the back door. It was one guy with a reach to open.
Yes, I've heard that. No. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Burning issues, they're burning a blooming hole in my brain at the moment. So I think I need to cheer us up. How can I cheer us up? The ratings. Here we go. Yeah, time for the dollies to do their dealing. And they'll have to do some dealing. They need to find some votes and views. So it was 1.5. I've done the stream already. I'm sure Rachel has as well. 1.5, the lowest win rate ever.
I did a short. I've got to record mine. It's all written, though.
I do a short. I've got the right height for it. And so, yes, these were the predictions by the panel. So let's do it again. 1.5. And there you go. Michelle on the money. Michelle's busy tonight and next week. We'll have Hugh next week, but Michelle's given me her scores. So don't worry, we'll have the figures right. 1.45. So well done, Michelle. You were.
She gets the blankety blank checkbook and pen.
Yes. Woo-hoo! Your gift is not in the post. And Paul and really the rest of us are a lot way out, really. We were very optimistic.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
bad. Very
Well,
bad.
you know, we also sort of flatlined it. We thought where it was last week, you know. So
So we must do better this week. We must do better. Now, the context as usual. There's a lot of context. I must go on the big screen because the latest things that there's two things to know here. Looks, the consolidated figures came out, which means basically between Robot Revolution and Lux, we tanked 880,000 views. 25% of the audience went walkies after 1 week. And then obviously the other figure, which is today, which is 1.5 million overall, which is 360,000 down from last week. Now, that's not too hot, is it?
it's the weather. Of course, everybody was out enjoying the weather. Don't you understand, Brendan? Nothing to do with the quality of the episode. The sun was shining. The whole nation was barbecuing. That's what was happening.
Well,
we were away for bank holiday.
And this is why, you know, people, I've already had them after the stream at lunchtime when people saying, oh, you're just being negative about the latest figure. Don't you understand streaming with all that? And you've got, right, excuse me, I've just got this figure here.
That's very good. Do that again. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, me and Ncuti can really...
Unlike Ncuti, you get great range.
I'm reacting to nothing.
Oh, sorry. Can I just say, if the ratings or the streaming minutes really did not matter, these would not be released publicly.
Exactly. And that was one of the points I tried to make, you know, in your tweet back. But, okay, let's not be triggered by the overnights. Let's just look at the last year. Doctor Who loses 1.1 million views since Space Babies in 1 year. Oops. That's 40. Let me just show you. That is 42% of the audience of Space Babies has gone. 42%.
That's a lot.
I wonder why. Can anybody think?
Well, John, it's starting to make Space Babies look really good now because of the figure. 2.6 watch Space Babies, and now we're getting this 1.5. So it's shocking. But I've been teasing everybody. These figures I showed earlier on my stream, and to be quite, they're very dramatic. Are you ready for the 5-minute breakdowns, everybody? Here we go. This is, oh my God. So remember, that what they're reporting is that basically Doctor Who got 1.5. Let's have a look at the detail. Here we go. So I'll go bigger so you can see properly. So the Doctor Who program started at 7:10 and it had 1.6 million. And then it started to tank again. And I've tried to color code it. Deep red is the worst. So by obviously 15 to 25 minutes in, it was tanking as per usual. And then it only got to 1.6 million again when everybody was excited to see blankety blank. So basically, before that, we had the hit list, a celebrity hit list, a game show about, you know, music. And they delivered as a good old relay 1.6 million to Doctor Who. Doctor Who tried its best to lose those viewers. And if you take the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes off, those people are not watching Doctor Who. Obviously, they're just tuning in and out. So I've taken the average of all the 5 minutes in between, and it's 1.48 million. So basically, the figure is actually flattering us. So 1.48 million watched Doctor Who between 7:15 and 7:50. And it goes lower, as you can see. I mean, it dips and it dips and it dips. So basically, from the moment it started at 10 past through to 10 minutes later, we tanked another 140,000 people. I mean, there's something going wrong. And I would have suggested that this is where me and Paul might concur. Those first 10 minutes or so, Paul, was all froth and light comedy. And so
Absolutely.
You tune in for Doctor Who, you don't get it, so it tanks even further.
Quite.
It's 15, 20.
I know.
Do you want me to stick my tuppence worth in?
Go on, you go for it, John.
But yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm hearing, you know, when you read elsewhere and threads and what have you, people saying, if only they had started the season with The Well and not Space Babies, then everything would have been different. I don't care what you started it with. The fact is, these episodes, in whatever order you get, are just collectively rubbish. You know, there might be the odd diamond shining amongst them, but then again, if you have a bucket load of poo, you'll always have some that's looking a bit shinier than others. So this would always have happened because it's just an inferior quality product. It's simple. People tune in for Doctor Who. They're not getting Doctor Who, they tune out. And successively, from season to season and episodes within that season, more and more people are tuning out. Now, we always make the assumption that this will turn itself around by the end of the season, and we might just get back up to 2 million. For every time this sinks, and for every time the weather gets a bit better and it gets a bit lighter outside to give them that excuse, the likelihood is that this show will come and go with most ratings in the 1 million plus area, and lucky to get it.
I agree. I think the damage was done. I agree with that. The damage was done by those supposed specials, because people had an expectation then. They had faith in Davies because obviously he was the putative savior of this show. So everybody was behind him. I didn't want him back, I'll be honest, for a variety of reasons, but I can understand everybody who did, and I can understand the faith that they had in him. And when those specials revealed their true nature, when they didn't give any deference whatsoever to 60 years of this British institution, then that caused these slumping figures. And the gravity of that bad decision, it's never been able to escape it. It's always been something like 3 point something or the high 2 point somethings, and it's never recovered. And like John says, once the series started last year, it doesn't really matter what order you put them in. The damage was done. So I fully agree with that.
And we're getting to hardcore now. I mean, 1.6 is not brilliant, is it? But you've got the hardcore Doctor Who fans, I suppose, are the ones who are left, and then we still lose them every episode. You know, they can't consolidate. Now, by the way, we are now sandwiched. We are dipping between a game show and a game show. And Blankety Blank is a cheap game show. So Blankety Blank, does it have a co-partnership with Disney? Is it heavily marketed to China and Bolivia and Haiti?
No, but it's easy to produce. You
And
don't need to do
cheap to
special
produce.
effects, and it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I also looked up EastEnders. Its last cost, I think it was like 250,000 odd per episode, but they have a 6-week turnaround, I think, at the moment. So they're just rolling it out, and
Plus they're filming in very much existing sets with a cast, and they can amortize the cost of that.
Exactly, and they've got multiple cameras rolling at the same time.
Yeah.
So boom, 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 wham, bam, thank you, Matt. It's done. It's out.
You see,
you're right, Brendan. Those are game shows. Doctor Who's sandwiched between two very inexpensive game shows, and to be spending whatever the BBC is spending on this, I don't know, we know what Disney is, but the BBC will be putting a fair few million into this as well. One thing we all know is it's way more expensive than the programs that surround it. So somebody in the chat said about this being a sackable offence. Surely to goodness, somebody in the BBC must be getting Russell Davies and the rest of that smiley crew behind him who all think they're fantastic when they ain't. Get them in front of a desk somewhere and say, what is it that you think that you're doing wrong, and get it fixed?
John, interestingly, I said in my short earlier, I'm probably not going to say this in my video, but I said that Colin Baker was fired for a lot less than this.
Colin Baker was fired for nothing,
Absolutely nothing. No matter what you think of him.
Yes, absolutely. But the thing about it is, the thing about these people, Russell Davies and the other execs, the three we're talking about, the two, Jane and whatever her name is, and Phil, whatever, these people are just so far up themselves that they're finding it very, very difficult to accept criticism. What's needed is someone where, particularly the BBC, I think, because this is ultimately a BBC property, to sit them down and and say to them, you have taken a valuable BBC asset, a programme which makes us money, and it has a 60 plus year heritage, and you are trashing it. You are physically trashing it, and sack them.
Well, Tomboy Chick says, what, and I'll remind you, it was sandwiched between, before it was celebrity hit list. So you have celebrity couples, and it's a quiz show to do with music and pop. And then after it was blankety blank. Now, I'm not dissing those two programs, but they're just fillers for nice Saturday night, you know, some light variety, you know, a bit of a laugh. You get some celebrities on. This is the big hitter drama. This is the big beast that wants to take on Strange New Worlds, Buffy, Star Trek. This is our big hitter for the BBC. And to me, it's hemorrhaging. By the way, I'm going to say this again. 10 minutes in and again 15 minutes later, it dips to its lowest point. And if you look at what was happening in the program then, I'm a casual viewer, I'm pretending. You tune into Doctor Who, you're thinking, oh, I'll see what it's like this week because Doctor Who used to be good. Oh, it's from the point of view of that lad. The doctors, mind you, the doctor so was horrible and unbearable in the first 5 minutes. You know, with that faux jollity. Hey, oh, I've got a 50p and all this nonsense. I'd turn off as well and watch the blooming, I don't know, final score or something. He's unbearable. And so I'd have turned off then. Then it calms down and it's from the viewpoint of somebody I've never seen in Doctor Who before. So why am I tuning into this? I want to see a monster. I want to see some, you know, some intrigue. And it wasn't happening. I think those figures, as per usual, make sense, which is why they never really want to show them.
And interestingly, like you say, when the bits of the action seems to be happening, it seems to be where you've got the increase. That's what the people want to watch.
Yeah, and this is where, Paul, when we come to the episode, which we'll do very soon, I did think there were two creepy bits in it. You know, what more? I thought the monster was great until it kind of revealed it Scooby-Doo style that two of them were like cosplayers. But I liked the scene where he was surrounded by mannequins, and yeah, unfortunately the Doctor and Ruby ruined that bit with some joking about how the antidotes and anti-vaxxers and all that stuff. But that bit I thought was creepy. And then when she told the story of what the Shriek does, I thought that was good. And so it has, again, what you were saying, Paul, is they have these little disjointed scenes, but they're just not thread together. But there was elements there.
Regarding the monster, I felt it was the obverse of Invasion of the Dinosaurs in that the story was woeful, unengaging, and the monster was probably quite well created. It's nowhere near enough for me, but it probably was. Whereas, of course, in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I've never ever watched Invasion of the Dinosaurs and been bothered by the substandard monsters because the story sort of auto-completes for me what they should be. Every time I watch that excellent story, it's just the acting, the writing, just everything hangs together to bring those dinosaurs to life. Never once have I been disappointed. So that it's the obverse of this story this week. It's a good monster, perhaps, but everything else is just woeful.
And don't worry, we're going to talk about that, everybody. I promised you the 5-minute breakdowns. There they are, and they take no prisoners. And to be honest, green is obviously the improved color, and it's only at the beginning and at the end as everybody gets so excited about what will happen this week on blankety blank. So shocking. It's really embarrassing. So basically, that's that. It doesn't help when you see the figures for Saturday night, though. I mean, Britain's Got Talent is storming it with 32% of the audience, then the 1% Club, then the BBC News with something exciting about some political party winning and one losing, you know, whoa. And then the hit list, and then Casualty, and then 99 to Beat, and then Match of the Day, which is on after 10 o'clock, and then Doctor Who. I mean, it's an indictment.
It's more the viewer share is particularly worrying amongst all of that, because back in the day, Doctor Who, was in the 30s, sometimes 40% of people watching television were choosing to watch Doctor Who. 12%, that's almost like 1 in 10 people, slightly more than 1 in 10 people who are available to watch television at that time. So even, let's just forget the figures. So everybody else in the world is out having a barbecue. But the people who are not and watching television, only 12% of them elect to watch Doctor Who. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yep. So knowing all this and knowing where we stand, and I'll put this on the big picture because I'm going to now ask for the predictions of the panel for next week's the story in the engine set in Nigeria with a spider god, it looks like. So if you see, just so I can show everybody, so you can see the context of what you're up against. If you think it's like for like, last year we had 2 bouncers. You can see in green when the ratings went up. Most of the time they go down. John, what would your prediction be, do you reckon, for next week?
Well, given the fact that the trailer did this no favours at all, it was just a selection of random scenes with a big effect at the end, which was difficult to see in the few seconds that was on screen to establish the fact that it was a spider. I dare say casual viewers might not even have noticed that. It could have been just some sort of contrivance. I don't know. So the trailer wasn't poor episode, roughly, poor trailer, hardly getting people to come back. Had they maybe throw a Dalek in there somewhere, or the Master, or a Simon, people might have went, oh, spread a bit of word of mouth, but none of that going on. So I'll have to say 1.45.
1.45. I will ask Michelle later, everybody. Like I said, I've still got her figures. So, Paul, what do you reckon?
I think it's just going to be us 4. So 4 people.
4
people.
That's more than it deserves, probably.
I agree. 4 more than it deserves, to be precise.
It might be worth tuning in to see if he gets it right. But
I predict it might be a bit off.
I could sabotage Paul's prediction by saying I'm going out next Saturday, so it's 3.
Hey, Paul, it's a fair observation. It is, yeah.
I think I'm guessing we're in dodgy territory. Do you know what? Oh God, I'm going to agree with John. 1.45.
Hold on.
Oh God, it's that Doctor Who monthly cancellation thing. I'm with you in spirit. You see,
Rachel,
Rachel,
you're not agreeing with me. You're copying me.
Yeah.
Not for the first time. Rachel,
is it the Noah Adams one? I think it's probably going to be about 1.4.
1.4 for the Spider God.
I think people are going to remember some things that he said.
Yes, and look, you can't help it. I know people who are casual viewers of everything, and they say, "Oh, the adverts seem to be very diverse," and and if they see any clips of next week, I don't think it's going to have people going, "Oh, I must watch this," because it just looks as though it's a documentary set in Nigeria.
It looks what it looks like, Brendan, is it looks like more of the same. That's what it looks like.
It looks a bit dull. Can we get off Earth, please?
Did they film that abroad, or did they film that here in the UK?
Brick Lane. No. I mean, I'm trying to think where it would
be. Brick
Lane. Blackpool Beach.
Because if they filmed that abroad, that might be why we had Dr Lite this week.
It's probably Tiger Bay, as they used to call it, Cardiff Bay. So, you know that we're here for the main item, which is reviewing the episode. We have special criteria. My special criteria are hidden on one of my markers here. We have our Tombstone Totaliser. We obviously then start to give you scores. That was the season 1 then. Legend of Ruby Sunday won just. Last week, The Well got 101 out of 150 votes. Don't worry, Paul, you're still there. I just won't fiddle with the screen this second.
It's all right.
I will in a minute. So there you go. So at the moment, The Well is in top position and Lux is in bottom position. And that's what we will be looking at, okay? So, of course, and as you know, with our Broke Hack Bingo, I filled my bingo card up. And from that, let me just get Paul back in so I'm not rude. You can see then, actually, it didn't score so well on the bingo scorecard because he didn't cry.
But he went in it.
Yeah, we had no Mavity. The Doctor wasn't necessarily weak or indecisive because he wasn't in it. Yeah,
but he wore a lovely outfit.
Outfits. I mean, gosh, he was trying to echo William Hartnell. It felt like at one point with that hat. But as Sonny Waffles said on our Tuesday show, he looks like a bum, which went down nicely.
Can I just say?
You mean like as an American bum, as a tramp, or bum as an arse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Conrad might be your MacGuffin. Because the Doctor mentions in the first story that somebody had told him about Belinda Chandra, who was connected.
Yes, yes.
So,
And he is back in it, isn't he? We know
Yeah.
that. So
but I don't necessarily believe that it's him. But he is back in it, yeah.
yeah.
We just have to hold our breaths.
So everybody, here we go. We're gonna get going now with the Tombstone Totaliser. Here we go. I love that. It's a mouthful, isn't it? The Tombstone Totaliser. So here we go. I sometimes wonder where I get these sound effects from, but anyway, they're quite
I
good.
thought that
So
was
there you
you.
go.
I thought you were passing wind.
So just so everyone knows, I'll say this fast, just so you've got it. So we mark each criteria out of 10. At 9 to 10 is outstanding, 7 to 8 is good, needs improvement 4 to 6, and 1 to 3 special measures, as we call it. And we're now going to look at true who or boo hoo. Okay, so Paul, I think you've got a refreshing angle here because secretly you loved the episode. So I'll start with you, Paul. True who or boo hoo, and why?
It's the least Doctor Who I've ever seen. It, at best, I would describe it as a mockery of Doctor Who. And by definition, of course, that would include elements of Doctor Who. But no, this was an insult. There was nothing to recognize. There was nothing that I could latch onto, seize hold of, and bring to the fore the show that I grew up loving. And it was entirely their fault. They made choices. They made contextual bad choices. And the result was that I just didn't recognize Doctor Who in there anywhere, sorry.
There you go, folks. I mean, he's not going to pull any punches. Rachel, true who, boo hoo?
Oh, boo-hoo. Yeah, no, it had no recognizable traits of Doctor Who. It felt like to me that they were setting this up as a unit story, that Pete was charged with this as well as doing what he had to do for Ruby, for the war between the land and the sea, which title was too long. I felt like that's what they were setting it up for. And yeah, it just had no recognizable traits. Really, it just didn't. I just felt like it was a setup for unit and writing Ruby out. That's
John?
all.
Sorry, we'll come back to bits.
Yeah.
Where do you start on this one?
Well, it certainly needs improvement. I'll give you my points if you don't mind, Brendan. I gave you 4. It needed improvement, so it fell into that category of some of it looked like Doctor Who, particularly the opening 15 to 20 minutes had elements which, had they continued down that path, would have made it recognisably Doctor Who. In that, you had a spooky village, there was a creature, something lurking, there were shadowy figures, there was some nice scenes in the factory or wherever that was with those mannequins at the beginning, and that developed a little bit further. There was a mystery, if you like, being set up. And then it all took a left turn, and we all know what happened then. The series has done Dr Lite episodes before, and it still managed to be very much Doctor Who. This is the one occasion where I think a Dr Lite episode has made it seem more like Doctor Who for the Doctor not being in it. So this may well have been a 3 for me, but the lack of the Doctor made me increase it to a 4, because I like the stuff at Unit. I like the stuff at the beginning in the village. I felt quite typically Doctor Who to me, spooky mystery setting, but still nonetheless just scraping in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could see as Paul was talking, I had a bit of a problem with one of my. You can see that there, and it should be actually breaking it down. It's messing on at the moment. Let me just kind of break this down for us. What can you see there, everybody?
The ratings.
Ratings.
Yeah, on the big screen, it won't go smaller, which is kind of very weird. So I will just get rid of that screen, because that's where I had all my photographs, my usual photographs for everybody. So I'm sure we'll all cope, because I think we've all seen the episode. So it's messing on.
You get to see all of us instead.
Yeah, exactly. So under True Who or Boo Hoo, I mean, I I clearly am perturbed because number one, why do you want to, when there's only an 8-episode series and actually Ncuti Gatwa is very available, no excuses this time. Why do you,
Bushes by Rogue.
yeah, why do you want an episode when you're not using your main actor? Because he's hot property, don't you know? I mean, RTD said he'll be James Bond in 5 years. You know, why aren't you using him? It seems madness to me, honestly, if that's the logic, you're paying for him. And then, of course, Dr. Lite is a frothy new thing that he came up with when they were doing 13 episodes a season. And I understood why, because production-wise, it's too tight. You can do it once, but I don't think every year. For every blink, you have a Love and Monsters. You've got to stop it. And I have to say, this is an invention of New Who. I do not applaud it. I do not encourage it. And as soon as me and Paul are agreeing on, it just ended up being, oh, let's look at how a companion would cope when the Doctor's not there. It's not Big Finish. I couldn't give a toss. You know, I'm sorry. I don't want to see the episode when Sarah Jane goes to the loo. I'm not interested.
Yeah, Brent, you're absolutely right. But you know, this again boils down to the overarching hubris in this production team that I think at all times they're setting up for what they believe to be the universe to come. You know, so you're possibly developing possible spin-offs involving Millie Gibson and Unit, as well as the war between the land and the sea, which is yet to come. This is what they thought might happen. So that's the reason why you have a Dr. Lite episode. You're quite right. 13 episodes might require it. 8 certainly doesn't. But the sad fact is, given this characterization of the Doctor, which isn't the Doctor, I'd be glad to see an episode without him.
And if you think that the 5-part spin-off, I assume, won't have the Doctor in either, we seem to be making a lot of Dr. Lite stuff. And the main show is limping in the ratings, as we've just shown. John Yulden here, who has been disagreeing with the Queen of the Woke, so he's probably going to have his head chopped off.
Right.
As I said yesterday, why did Conrad need to create an elaborate plan, to get Ruby when he already has an insider in Unit? Exactly. Plot hole number 5, 6, 7, 8.
I don't know if this is the point to talk about this now, but the whole thing was based on nonsense anyway. The man, as a boy and then as an adult, saw the TARDIS disappear. He was aware of the fact that something otherworldly was going on.
Yes.
And yet wanted to create a whole mishmash and a whole stramash about the fact that Unit was faking this. It just didn't make, apart from the fact that all those other stuff that's happened on Earth in the last 20 years under Russell Davies, Stephen Moffat, and Chris Chibnall, let's park all that. He saw the TARDIS come and go twice, to my knowledge, and yet he still believes it's all nonsense. What?
Yeah, and his mole inside Unit should be able to tell him that aliens are real. I've seen them with my own eyes down in the Jow, in the hold, where they've got them.
Now, Paul Mabley, who was our panelist on my show a couple of weeks ago on Who Night, I know you loved this episode, Paul Mabley. So while we're looking as though we're saying boo-hoo, and we look as though our scores are not going to be so hot, can you give us 1 or 2 reasons in the thread why you thought this was a really enjoyable Doctor Who episode? And I honestly, without sarcasm, I'm asking that, right? That's the whole point. Because I just don't get it. When you're a Doctor Who fan, I just don't get it, you see.
So just addressing that comment about the Doctor Who Light episode story for the Celestial Toymaker, that was pretty common back then, though, wasn't it? Because they filmed more back-to-back. It was every week for
they were doing
a lot longer, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so that would be more to do with the fact that they needed to rest. Yeah. Okay,
Garbage
just
is
double checking.
Garbage is helping us here. Let's get this into context. Unit, the worldwide international planet Earth in charge of security, gets infiltrated by a guy with a gun walking in their back door.
Wow.
That's it.
I know. Who knew? But of course, I knew. I was onto it because that Jordan Land, he went in the front entrance and then didn't check his security. So obviously they don't check. They're not. I know school kids were messing on. I think I'd have bollocked them.
I seriously thought Jordan Lang was Ruby's dad at first because she was talking about her dad as he was walking in.
Do you know that's exactly what I thought, Rachel? You're spot on, because when Rachel talks about, and I now I've got a new dad, that's spoken over the shot of this guy walking through the door and then putting things in his unit locker, and you think, okay, this is going to be significant. But it wasn't.
Yeah. Total MacGuffin.
And how elaborate. I mean, it's added to what John said, but there's even more. I mean, how elaborate that it just so happened that Ruby contacted him and he had a photograph of her to actually seek out contact when he already had an insider. He didn't need to do this elaborate thing, and neither did he need her to suddenly fall in love with him. And for God's sake, it's just
the reason why he knew about Ruby is not because she worked for UNIT. It's because he'd seen her getting into the TARDIS and disappearing into the time vortex. So, and yet you need her to disprove the whole UNIT that none of this stuff existed. It's nuts.
And he's a tax dodger, so you know.
And also he's got a subscription to Albion TV, that right-wing network.
Could it be anything like GB News?
No.
Something tells me RTD, you're so funny. Dongo, 10 years from now, we'll all be saying, remember when Doctor Who got all gay and shit? Sometimes I like the bluntness.
This is my sex life.
I mean, honestly, God, yeah. I mean, it's shocking. You have to laugh. Paul Holgate, you could understand why when they were making 48 episodes a year, that they would give episodes off. And yeah, of course. I mean, who's going to deprive them of a mini holiday? Raymond Williams, sorry, Rachel, setting up what? They have 8 episodes. Everyone should be a standalone story, one adventure to another. This Mrs. Flood. Who the hell is this Conrad stuff? It's irritating. Go on, Rachel, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say about the Doctor Who Lite episodes that we've been having recently. The Doctor is ineffectual in all of them, whereas in Blink, yes, it was Dr. Lite, but he was still effectual. He still had an effect on the story.
He solves the problem.
Yeah, he does. He's not there, but he solves it.
Yeah.
But you see, but it was almost like gaslighting. That scene in the TARDIS, which I will say for the umpteenth time, I thought was well executed and all the rest of it. But the trouble was, it's hurty words. It's not deed. All he said is, I know you die. You're a nasty piece of work and you should have said thank you and you don't mess with my girl. And apart from that, it was just hurty words.
Yeah.
Perhaps Shuti's auditioning for the next landlord of the Queen Vic.
Yeah, get out of my TARDIS. Get out.
You know, because he's learning at the feet of Angie Watts, you see.
Yeah.
That's true. She's back from the dead. She's teaching.
Actually,
you know, that resurrection scene where she appears as Angie's ghost when she sees Sharon.
Yeah.
I've watched that. She also went over to Ncuti.
Can I just say, by the way, I'm going to say this and I'm going to make it problematic. When we talk about True Who or Boo Who, you know, the new Who lovies who think that this 15th Doctor is amazing on representation.
Oh, the Doctor Who fans.
So, yes, all the Doctor Who fans who think, oh my God, it's amazing that he's gay and all the rest of it. Well, okay, then, let's follow this path then. If he is a gay Doctor... I'm not letting John or Howard Kin out that TARDIS. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'd have kept him there. I'm sorry. I don't believe, John, that 15th Doctor would have said bye. I'd have said, I'm going to work on you.
Yeah, you dirty old man.
It's just,
yeah. No,
really?
This is the thing. The Doctor, they're saying the Doctor's gay. Okay. But the Doctor's neither gay nor straight, or shouldn't be, because the Doctor, as Tom Baker just says, is beyond sex. He's beyond human sort of desires and frailties and all those sort of things. But you know what? I said it last week and I'll say it again this week. This isn't Shuy Gatwa playing the Doctor. This is the Doctor playing Shuy Gatwa. This is what's happened to this series now. You know, this has become a cult of this man's personality because the writer and showrunner is so much in thrall of this man, this actor, this catwalk or whatever it is, that he's writing and creating this character around his own character.
Yeah. So I think you might see where our scores are going to go on this one. So there you go. True Who or Boo Who? Very hard to judge. I struggled because I thought, well, we had a really great confrontational Doctor Who scene in the TARDIS, but it wasn't the Doctor who spoke. And then the Doctor at the beginning, I hated him. If he went into our pub in all that kind of faux happiness and, hi, 50p and all this, I'd have thought, oh, let's leave. Let's leave, for God's sake. He's overbearing. He grates on me. It's also false. He's so falsely happy. It's yeah. He reminds me of the Legend of Ruby Sunday. You know, when the doctor says, lands in unit, and he says, give me the loving. And I'm thinking, no, I'll give you a slap. In fact, where's Conrad's mam when you want her? You know, that's what I say.
Ouch. That was quite a wallop.
Actually, well, slapping's allowed because, as you know, the David Tennant doctor was getting slapped all the time by Rose Tyler's mam and by Jackie. So slapping's allowed, you know, and the progressives seem to like that. A woman slapping a man's good. It's good. It's really good.
Apparently, also, a woman that's old Granny Sunday in bed is allowed to ogle over Conrad being shirtless on Instagram, apparently, as well. You know, that's all allowed too. You know, that's fine. So she can be a dirty old woman, and that's fine, but let you or I be a dirty old man, and that's naughty.
Toxic masculinity, bad.
Yeah.
Toxic femininity, good. That scene with all the women, you know, I mean, it's the blended family I have never seen in my life. Every meeting I had was social workers and disjointed families and fragmented families. I'm sorry, there wasn't a loving. And the natural mother who dumped that kid at Christmas Eve for dead is suddenly bosom buddies with the... I mean, really? Unbelievable. And so it's a lovely Disney moment that they're blended in race, they're blended in their mothership, sisterhood. Oh, it's amazing. And it's a load of bollocks. Honestly.
And they're all there foaming in the mouth over a topless picture of a young man. Could you just imagine that was 3 guys sitting around a table talking like that?
No. And it's boring as hell, Paul. I'm sure that was one of your favourite bits, that. Because it was so proper. It was just...
I don't care about either Ruby's biological mother or her foster mother. I find them deeply inconsequential. Also, more importantly, the biological mother is absurdly related to Sutek in the sense that Sutek was so fascinated by her that he forestalled destroying the Earth, didn't he, if I'm not mistaken? And it's all too much. This, for me, this is the epitome of a backward step, this episode. It has so many elements in it, which just I think are the worst elements of this benighted current era, that I just wasn't invested. I have to admit, even before the start, I didn't expect to like this. So there was a little bit of bias when I went in. I have to confess.
So basically, that's a new interesting point. You won't get this on other streams, folks. So basically, her natural mother is Sutek's thing on the side. Wow, yeah, no, this is it. Great soap opera. So Sutek might appear in the future going, I want my woman back.
No, Sutek will shout, you're not my mother.
Yeah, I know. Oh, God, it's so classic. Honestly, true or boo-hoo, I'm blooming boo-hooing all the way to bed. Karen Morris, Gatwa doesn't even look like the doctor, not in mannerisms, behaviour, control. I think Lenny Henry was more the doctor, and he did it for 7 minutes in a parody.
That's very true.
Very true. We're all giving him the loving tonight. Oh, it's all too much for Lee Smith here. Julie Coonan, when you were about 19, don't make it so proper, Julie. I was sitting on a wall and I got beeped by a builder's van. Embarrassingly, I fell off, but still felt a little good about myself that someone had noticed me. Harmless banter. I know. I have to say, I don't know what's allowed anymore. I just don't know what's allowed. And I feel sorry for the young lads. I do, because I don't think they know how you're supposed to behave anymore, really. So on the true who or boo-hoo, here we go. It gets fun. So the scores were here. Let me go bigger so you can all see. Paul 2, John 4, Michelle 4, Rachel 2, Brendan 4. Oh my God, we're so in love with this episode, which means... I know. So out of 50, of course, it got 16. Oh, God. A very unlucky day for some. And therefore, when I turn it into the figure in case one week I don't have the same number of people, 32% of the vote was positive there. Oh, my God. So we've already set the tone, folks. There we go. So before we move on, Thread, what do you think? How many would you give it out of 10 for safeguarding of Doctor Who and being proper Who or boo Who? And you can see again what we were scoring it as, and actually, yet again, pretty consistent, really, on the low end of things. Oh my God. So we go now again to the next category, which is, I think this is going to get a bit tasty because this is obviously the production values. And of course, they clearly do have them. And I won't do it again. Sorry, everybody. You've heard me say it. You know the TARDIS scene? I clearly liked it, so I don't need to say any more. Production values, I thought were there. Blah, blah, blah. Jamie, by the way, who sat downstairs, he particularly liked that horror moment when we had the diorama. So when she was telling the tale of the shriek and you saw all the flickering of the lights and you saw the silhouette of the creature, that sort of thing is great for Jamie. He loves that type of Doctor Who. It's just that, as Paul said, it didn't join together. So I could see the production values. I liked Murray Gold's 15th Doctor theme music at the end, the way he changed it. Loads of little things like that. So that's what we judge it on. So, knowing that, Rachel, where do you want to start?
I was looking at actors in this one, actually. I've gone back to the actors, particularly Gemma Redgrave. Now, Gemma, I thought was very, very good. I think this is her best story so far as Kate.
Yeah.
I don't know how effectual Kate is to the story, really. I know they brought her back because she's Brigadier's daughter and all of that, and there's a connection there. But when that bit at the end where she goes really reckless and like almost insane, like, and probably like punishable by the standards of what
Rachel?
units set themselves to,
Rachel,
she was fantastic.
Would you call it toxic?
Yes, I would. But she definitely believed what she was doing. She's a Redgrave anyway. For those who don't know what I mean by that, the Redgrave family are big here in the UK, so they're all involved in entertainment and acting in some way. So I wouldn't expect anything less. In fact, and I would expect more. Was it too much? No, I don't think so. I think it was spot on. I know some people don't like Kate. I get it. But
So Sydney Rough Diamond, yes.
yeah. But for the for what she had to deliver, and like, is it well within unit to do something like that? Probably not. But you know, they did give us some good dialogue, and she took it to the next level, you know, whether or not you like the script. And Ncuti, I think, as well, just to talk about Ncuti, I know what people think of Ncuti, and we can agree to disagree. That's absolutely fine. He was better. And the reason why I think he is better is because he connects to what he is saying at the end. He can relate to it in some way. So it adds deeper meaning for him. So it's not as static as he has been, or as like methodical as he has been. You know, it's much more, it flows a bit better, if you know what I mean.
So, knowing what Rachel has said about the production values, I think it's very decent of me now and appropriate to bring in Paul, because Paul, go on, you tell us what you're thinking about here.
Right. I understand how individually an aspect of the production can be impressive. I understand that it's a lot of hard work involved. And I do respect that. I do respect the people who make a vocation out of this. The problem I have is, as I've said before, I see the resultant as a composite. And when the production values don't produce anything meaningful, then they invalidate themselves from credit, collectively and individually. And that's how I've always seen it, really. And that's the way I see this. In particular, this is an egregious example. And I don't give any credit to it. If you go to all that effort, but nothing results that is good, then no, absolutely not. I don't acknowledge it.
Okay, so I think you may guess where Paul might go. John, where do you stand on this?
Based on what we're judging on, production values, I thought it was quite good. I thought it was in the most part well directed, well shot. There's some great directorial choices. That scene we've mentioned a couple of times now, where Ruby describes what the creature, the shriek, whatever it's called, could do to him as it sneaks up on him, was very well set up, was very creepy and very spooky. And that's Doctor Who doing its job. And then, of course, then further down the line, it all goes belly up because they change the nature of the programme. And that's because, and I'll talk about here, the script. Now, we mentioned Pete McTighe, I don't know how you pronounce his surname. He's had a lot of input into Doctor Who in terms of this range.
Yeah.
In terms of writing these mini-sodes. So he knows his Doctor Who, and people have been saying, actually, he'd make a great showrunner because he writes classic Doctor Who very well. We had the mini episodes with Tegan and Nyssa, we had the Leela episode, all this sort of stuff, Joe and the Autons, all this great stuff. But then what he's done with Doctor Who, however, has been less satisfactory. And this one round, you have to wonder, therefore, is he a good scriptwriter, but with a bad showrunner and production team surrounding him, does that drag him down? Because on his own, he's produced some pretty good Doctor Who, traditionally, and, very much like Doctor Who should be. So is it Russell Davies and the team behind him that have managed to take a good script and turn it into a mediocre one in this? Because that's exactly what happened with this. But the constituent parts in this, and we have to remember that there are people whose careers it is to make this programme look good, and they made it look good. It wasn't very good. Their product ultimately didn't satisfy. Paul's right, but I will manage to tease out where the good directorial choices, a great monster costume, some decent music, some fairly, good acting along the way. I thought the actor who played Conrad was excellent. He bested Ncuti in that final scene just by not even flickering his emotions. So yeah, based on production values, I gave this quite a decent score.
It's interesting because I can see where Paul's coming from, and
so can I.
I set up the criteria like I did, and obviously when I'm marking a kid's work, you try your best to think, well, God, that was a cruddy essay, but I try and fit that in. But on the production values thing, my two favorite bits that were Doctor Who-ish, and John's just listed them, the creepy stuff and all the rest of it. So, but I know what Paul's saying, which is they amount to nothing. And actually that was the problem, because that creepy bit was just her telling him to imagine what could happen. It amounted to nothing. And that was a damn shame. I'd have loved to have seen somebody die. Sorry about that. And see how he does it. Actions speak louder than words. It's a wordy episode. And it equally, the Scooby-Doo bit, I was actually quite intrigued by. We're in another village and they're everywhere. The silhouettes of these shriek everywhere, flickering lights, it's all happening. And all of a sudden, two lads stand up and take the mask off. And I'm thinking, oh, God, honestly, it's Scooby-Doo again. And I'm sorry, but there's a fascination with this kind of undermining what you're trying to do. So, for example, 73 Yards, I loved the Welsh village setup, and then RTD undermined it by moving its locale. And in this situation, you set it up. You've got kids, I'm no doubt thinking, oh, God, they're surrounded. What they're going to do? How the hell is she going to manage with a crowbar? I mean, what? And then all of a sudden, it's just lads. And you think,
it's almost another fourth wall break, isn't it? Saying, you wanted, it's almost Russell Davies saying, right, you wanted men in rubber costumes instead of effects. So here are men in rubber costumes who are literally men in rubber costumes. It's a bit of that going on. But as I say, what they did with the effects they had, they made it look good and feel creepy at the beginning before the script took a dodgy turn and went to be about something else. But I can't fault these people who are doing their bests. Be it with lighting and music and cameras and what have you, did a good job. But ultimately, it's a bit like, if you get a bad chef, you can't blame the eggs and the chocolate and the flour. They're all doing their job. It's the person that puts them all together.
Yeah.
A shit job of it. That's their fault. It's not the fault of the individual bits.
Well, can I just say before Rachel comes in, thank you, Jess. That's extremely generous. And it's because she sees the high production values with our Who Pets. That's probably what the Who Pets need their tea and biscuits. they probably need to go to New York again, I think.
No, what they need is put them down.
We just throw them over there. It's like, look, I've got, I mean, here he is. I mean, look, I mean, how do I get him into a plot? Here we go. I mean, look at the state of him. I mean, he doesn't brush
You
his
could
hair.
tear out of the moustache. That's a big moustache. That's a big gay moustache.
I mean, yeah. I'll do a true who boo hoo episode of him. But thanks, Jess. No, that's really nice of you. Yeah, because honestly, we you know, it's very nice of you, and I do like the collective support people have, because we want to have a laugh about our favorite program. We want to be passionate. We want to fall out and have a debate, then have a laugh, and then we're all friends again. That's the whole point of it. Tomboy Chick, yet again, a supporting artist outperformed the lead actor. Oh, hell surprise, yeah.
The thing is, he's the baddie, so he's already got a high status. So Ncuti would have to up his game.
And he didn't.
He didn't. He turned into a monster, actually. I think.
Well, he turned into a nice, like, it was almost like, you know, somebody had one of these 70s light entertainment. He was Marty Kane. He was wearing Marty Kane's old outfit from Saturday Night Special.
Go on, Rich.
Go on. No, I was just about to say what I was thinking about earlier before I forget it. I just want to say one thing about what Pete has done here compared to RTD. Okay, no matter what we think of the writing, okay, he has gone full on with his messaging all the way through, and he did keep that consistent no matter what we think of it. Whereas RTD stops his plot randomly, says what he wants to say, and then continues on with the story as if it never happened. So at least he committed to it. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
I think this 45-minute format is starting to break now at the edges, because what you're saying with Pete McTeague and the writing, you're having to squash so much in.
Yeah.
And in the end, you can't carry through the world building or the atmosphere or the mood. You just can't.
No, you can't. He did need to world build on that. He really did. And I'm sure he probably had, if he had been given that chance to, he could have done it. And then the twist where Conrad turns out to be, you know, the bad guy would have been more impactful. And although I would have liked to have explored the Shriek a bit more, but
yeah, and that's why I keep saying it's Scooby-Doo. It had an essence, and it wasn't my favorite program, you know. It had an essence of Torchwood to it.
Yeah.
Which wasn't my thing. I watched it.
Was it Michael? Michael said that to me.
Yeah, it was like, but I didn't finish my point because I had my old brain again. But basically, when I was talking about it being 45 minutes, it's really creaking now. The other thing that is problematic is the writers are falling into lots of wordy things instead of action. And action should always trump it. You know, somebody dies. I know that monster's dangerous. I don't need a story in a restaurant. Get on with showing me the danger. And then you've got Doctor Who back. But they seem to be just wanting to show words.
Yeah.
Words.
You know, you said earlier, I can't believe I'm about to bring this up, but about the Autons and how you thought that we were going to get the Autons.
Do you want a photograph?
No, not really. But yeah, but I seriously did think that. Now, oh, for goodness sake. Now, I don't necessarily want the Autons back, and that's not because I'm scared of them. It's just that, you know, that type of character that you can't really do a lot with unless you reintroduce the Nestine consciousness or whatever. But if they had been Autons and they had been tied to the Shriek and they were assisting the Shriek in some way, I could have buyed that, even though I'd have been hiding behind my pillow all the time.
That's what we want with Doctor Who. You hiding.
Yes. Sonny, I'm not convinced by your comment, by the way. The Autons were fake in the 70s. What does that make them now?
They had appendages this time. Karen Morrison, now I think about it, overall the production looks on par with the lower budgeted CW shows. I mean, so we judge on production. You've heard a few views there. And Yeah, there's going to be no prisoners taken here. So let's get back to it. So what is our scoreboard saying on this, on our Tombstone Totaliser? Let's have a look. Sorry, folks. I thought I would build up a bit more tension, as you should do, really.
You're building a bit more wind. You need to take some Gaviscon. Dismal.
There's the scores. Paul give it 0 out of 10. John 7. Michelle 6. Rachel 7. I give it 8. I did go on about that scene quite a lot, as you know, and the creepy bit and all the rest of it.
Yeah, see, Brendan, I would have agreed for you if they hadn't done the politics, so it got a knock-off point for that.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. We're all, and remember, I think it's important to always say none of us actually see. I mean, they're as surprised as anyone because I just get the figures coming in while I'm doing the other shows, and when you put them all together, that's when it gets tasty. So out of 50, it got 28 for production values, which because there were 5 people in play and all the rest of it, 56% it got. So, of course, we now move to the main game. You make TV for a reason. It's to entertain and it's to engage your audience. And, of course, the ratings tell us we seem to be losing them. But let's move on to that one. So, Paul, on audience engagement, you sound as though you're on the edge of your seat about whether you should switch. No, sorry. Yes. Yeah.
It didn't engage with me at all. And I mean, literally at all. I do have to stress that the trailer was uninspiring. It featured elements that I just couldn't abide. It featured Ruby. It featured Ruby's parents, both biological and foster. It featured a very unprepossessing unit. And all of these things just contrived to make me completely inert. But I did sit down. I did decide to give it a chance. But very quickly, I realized that it was just nothing. It was just one long stream of nothing. I couldn't invest in any character. Nothing convinced me. The characters were behaving in ways that was purely derived from the writer wanting to depict them like that without investing any kind of context. And it just took me out of it completely. I couldn't wait for it to be over. I couldn't wait for this to be over.
Paul, are you finding when there's an episode you don't like, it's interesting, isn't it? Because RTD will be bereft because he'll be going, did you not enjoy my Easter eggs of the mention of the Brigadier? Did you not like the hint that it might be the Autons? Did you not like these lovely touches? Did you not like a unit in it? He seems to think that will please you.
But when a show like this does it, a show which has just existed to rebuke what has gone before, to hold aloft what it sees as problematic, then any such mention is actually an insult, isn't it? And that's the way I see it. When RTD makes these references, it's as much an insult. It's almost at very best, it's condescending, and that's how I took it. I wish he wouldn't mention anything from Classic, because I just don't like the words being in his mouth. In truth, I don't. I wish he'd just leave Classic alone and just get on with whatever nonsense he wants to get on with.
And there is an element that last year in some of my saloons, I did start saying, RTD, you're vandalizing old Who here. Stop it. Just move on. At least Chibnall in his first series said, let's move on and not rely on the past. He didn't stick with that, but there you go. John, your thoughts on how engaged you were?
Well, I mentioned earlier on about this, the fact that there were elements to this which showed good, if not great, but good potential to be creepy and scary. And that was as a result of, some of the acting choices, costume choices, lighting, directorial choices. However, because everything about modern Who, or this iteration of Doctor Who, seems to be about writing to get across a purpose, a meaning, a message. This week's message being that if you're following influencers or YouTubers or anything which isn't mainstream media, then the likelihood is you're being sold a lie and it's dangerous. That's the message of the week here. That led to what could have been a very traditional village with a creature and lots of stuff going on type Doctor Who story being subverted and turned into something else, which basically takes a story down a path it shouldn't have gone down and ultimately means it's unsatisfactory. So no, it wasn't engaging. And on another point about this, for the not for the first time, but myself and George, my husband, sat and watched this and got bored, because not a great deal seems to happen. You talked before about words. A lot of people sitting down
Yeah.
and talking. There's an awful lot of that. What Russell Davies did initially was he always seemed to keep things moving. There was something there to keep people entertained, to keep them glued to their seats, to make them go to the edge of their seats in some places, and all that tied together with good direction, good scripting, good music, good acting, all that working together. This just seems to be, the pacing just seems to be all over the place, in that we can have 10, 15 minutes without anything seeming to happen. And I'm just wondering that for the really young children watching this, they must be getting bored, either changing channels, switching whatever device they're watching on, going elsewhere, because this just doesn't hold them. The thing they used to accuse classic Who of being too slow, well, they did that perhaps because they had 425 minutes to fill. They don't have that excuse to be slow for no reason, and that does that in spades. So to that extent, did this engage? No.
Okay, Rachel, over to you on did it engage?
Well, if you count watching it twice, then I suppose I was. But the reason why I ended up watching it twice was because I thought I missed something. I just felt like I'd missed something.
Yes, entertainment value.
Maybe. Maybe. No, it was just like you say, it was like 73 yards, but it was 73 yards in reverse. I just don't feel like the resolution was there. If they had given Conrad a quote unquote redemption, okay, a fake redemption, but we believe that it's a real redemption, and he goes and travels in the TARDIS with the Doctor, but then he turns bad. Have another character like Turlo, maybe, but then maybe there would have been a bit of a better payoff, but it really didn't happen. And whilst I did have a relief getting away from what we had with RTD. What really let it down was Pete just did not have enough time, really, and it just fell flat. It fell short of what it could have been.
And this is and look, and this is where I come down to it. The format destroys it. There's no real resolution. There were plot holes all over the shop, and plot holes break the fourth wall to lots of people. You know when you were kids and your dad or somebody shouted out, "Oh, we know," and it ruins it. And there's too many things you're going, "Oh, unit." And the other thing is, with the Doctor Who connection with the past, I'm thinking Unit used to be this secret headquarters somewhere. And suddenly, only the gel guards could find it in the Three Doctors. But suddenly, it's this massive building asking to be, they had lynch mobs outside. Well, yeah, because
they've got a branch of Primark in the basement.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I have to say, I knew it was supposed to trigger me, but that bit of dialogue when it said that Kate Stewart said, the government wanting an inquiry into the spending. I thought, too bloody right. You've got this whopping building, 5 members of staff. I don't want it all, as I said earlier, all that, for diversity and, you need different bogs for different people and all the rest of it. I mean, Rose Nubble's not in, so it would be the waste of a new loo. You've already got a disabled loo for the scientific advisor so she can put her bazookas away. I mean, honestly, she has to check.
Rose Nubble
wheelchair bazookas, just to clarify.
She has to be careful when she goes to the loo. She doesn't press the wrong button and the rocket goes off. Honestly, it shocks me. I mean, honestly, but what a waste of money they are. And if I was in the government, I'd be saying, I want to know. I want to see the receipts. I think Kate Stewart's on the quiet, taking it away to south of France. And by the way,
it's all the money being spent on that robot, which at the first opportunity couldn't wait to get out.
Well, he was like Paul. He was saying, I don't like this episode. I'm leaving.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Why does a piece of AI need to evacuate? What?
It's a metaphor. It would be a meta. It's it's a metaphor for the fans.
The thing is about this story, there were ideas in it that really could have worked. And I feel like that's something that's very consistent with the last two series. There are ideas there. It's just the execution of them have just not been up to the standard that we expect.
Do you know what, Rachel? You're right, and I think all boils back down to something we've been developing now, both in this episode of the Sense Sphere and previous ones, with this sense of entitlement, a sense of hubris, a sense of overconfidence that this production team has had, that will all just sit and lap this up. And they're being proved so badly wrong. And the root cause of this is a showrunner who has just been so full of himself and what he's capable of. And it's all gone belly up. And I think if fingers have to be pointed, they'll have to be pointed at him first and foremost.
Well,
Yes,
as
I
Peter
agree.
Harrington has just pointed out then for Criteria 2, you could argue, we got a helicopter in this episode, but who cares? Do you know what I mean? That to me is a kind of misuse of production values, really, because basically they hired a helicopter. It had unit on the side, and yes, beautiful shot, but we didn't
You
need
didn't
it.
even see those characters either get into it or get out of it. So it could have been a bit of stock footage for all we care about, with units CGI'd on top of it. It doesn't. Back in the day when Doctor Who did have helicopters, early unit days, it meant something. They used it. They put the money up front,
Yeah.
and you got your value for your money. Nowadays it was just there a bit like eye candy, just to add to the general, oh God, we've got some Disney money to spend. Let's spend it on Project Helicopter. It contributed nothing.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Every time I see one of the scripts in Doctor Who now, I just change it slightly and deflect it back to RTD, Bad Wolf, and the BBC. So in this case, as just what John has said, I feel like saying, show me the receipts. Why? You obviously had spare money to get a helicopter when in the 70s, they even used some old Goldfinger footage, didn't they? With the helicopter. I remember they used footage with that little helicopter gyro thing.
There was an episode, I can't remember the name of the episode. It was
Little Nelly, is that?
episode where they had
Nelly.
to fake a helicopter. Remember, they blew. They went on Stephen Moffat called it a cheap hill. They went to a cheap hill somewhere in Wales, turned a wind machine on and put a big light on it and faked a helicopter. That's what proper Doctor Who does and gets the same results without having to spend money
Yeah.
on a helicopter for no use, you know?
And we all remember that in Genesis of the Daleks, Davros was copying. That rocket was an American rocket. I mean, the footage, I mean, you were looking for the American flag on the side going, oh, God, they're
Also, but listen, Davros may have copied the rockets, but the Thals copied the TARDIS pillars, don't forget.
That's what I mean. It's we could all cope with that, but we didn't waste the money. And I think they're just wasting the money. And yes, and Lee Smith in Robot, the original think tank, we had Action Man Tank and a little doll. I mean, it worked, didn't it? Well, not really.
It did.
Now you see,
who cared? Nobody mattered. It was a great story. We get carried away with it.
That's it.
I suppose somebody. I'm going to throw it at you, Paul, just because I'm imagining there might be somebody. It's just for the game of it. So when you give 0 out of 10 for the production values because they amounted to nothing in your words, wouldn't people say, but the Sarah Jane doll and the Action Man Tank in Robot kind of took them out of the story a little bit? So what score would you give for that one?
Well, the other production values contrived to make it a great story. So the writing, for instance, editing, directing, so things like that don't matter. It's like I said about Invasion of the Dinosaurs. It's the obverse of this story because you had admittedly substandard. I think wasn't there something where the wrong company was used or something like that? Barry Letts wanted to use one company.
They promised that they could do something that they ultimately couldn't. He was at the time he mentioned this, and bless him until he died, he was still talking about this, about how he'd been betrayed almost about what this company could do, but it couldn't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, never once have I watched that story, as I said earlier, and in any way lost sight of it convincing me because it's everything.
Because Paul, nobody anywhere at any time watches Doctor Who for special effects.
Of
He
course.
watches Doctor Who
Of
for
course.
good stories.
Yeah, that's it.
Although, and the thread are now getting like a class does near the bell. Lee Smith is saying, the Doctor Who podcast, what's your verdict, Brendan, on Gatwa's pillars? And the Dalek, the Dalek Lives Matters, the 5 pillars of Brendan. I mean, I could, shall I? I mean, God knows what goes on in my head. I have to say,
Filth.
my
Filth.
new John, my new husband, after that episode with you, said, "Did you really obsess about pillars?" And I went, "Yes, I did." How old were you, Brendan? Were you about 6? I said, "No, I was older than that." But yeah, but it was a big thing. By the way, John, I had multiple
I can imagine.
multiple emails from our followers saying they'd had the same thought. But they'd
Yeah. And are you all going to get onto the same Twilight home together?
well, we'll check the pillars out first. I didn't know architecture was a thing for me, but there it was. Randy Howell, thank you very much. Very nice of you. The Who pets must be inconsolable right now. Yeah, they're not getting enough airspace. John complains every week when they're not on. Give them a treat to cheer them up. I will try and do some video footage of them. We've got certainly the impressions of RTD. You know, Jack is fantastic, but it's just time at the moment. But thanks, Randy. It's really nice of you. I will never take that for granted. It's very nice.
I think Jamie's going to need his own union soon, because the Who pets are getting more and more screen time, and he does the voices for them. He's going to need some representation. I'll sign him up to the Actors Union.
What am I being told here?
This is always the danger when
it's an illusion.
It's like TVM. Roland Rapp became the star of the show, and you think, oh, poor Anne Diamond. And I feel as though the Who pets are becoming the star of this show, and I'm not happy. I'm getting jealous.
Oh, wait. We'll sign the Who pets up for Actors Union, and then we'll put yours and Jamie's names behind it.
Yeah.
We'll get you your own spotlight CV as well. We'll do that too. And your Mandy.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Trouble Magoo's coming. John Yulden, it's all about engaging script, actors, and a competent production crew. Classic crew proved this again and again. This over a large budget any day.
Yes.
Yep, I totally agree. Hold on. You've riled it. Oh, you've triggered him. It's Walkie Stroker. What's wrong?
I can't cope, Mr. Brendan. The calls are just coming through like crazy.
They're flooding in. The super chats are flooding in.
This is flooding in.
Yeah, no. So, how many calls have we had tonight, Walkie?
Oh, I've had at least 2, Mr. Brendan.
Oh my God, can I add up? So, what are you going to buy with that money? Because I think Randy and Jess and everybody wants to know what you're going to spend that money on. All this pocket money.
Lots of tea and biscuits, I hope.
You're not getting it.
No pillars for you, Mr. Brendan.
No.
Oh, hey, I liked my pillars in my little Who pet TARDIS. Remember that one, everybody? Planet of the Daleks. Have a look. Nearly fell over, didn't it? Nearly collapsed.
As Lee Smith said, it's like wasting a wish.
Oh, yeah, Lee Smith. Get wash your mouth out. Look, I can't have this. You're ruining the show, Walkie. I'm only allowing you on if you insult John.
Why would I want to insult John? He's the best on the program.
Ah, get off.
Always
Honestly,
loved that
who's
boy.
paying you?
Always like that boy. Always loved that boy.
Who's paying you? He's Walkie. He thinks you walk.
I'm going to tickle him on the head. In the ear. Where you go? Get closer. There you go. There you go.
I'm going to bash into pieces.
Oh, I'll
Good
take
boy.
the backhand later, John. Thanks.
Oh, aye.
Bye.
Less of where the hands are going. Right, so the Who pets are, that's your fault, Thread. It's your fault. End of. So, I suppose we need the scores on the final element, don't we? On where we went. I mean, I wasn't engaged enough. That's the truth. I had too many plot holes. It's not good story writing when I'm questioning everything in sight, and that's the end of it. So on this whole thing here, you can see the scores on the sarcophagus or Tombstone Totaliser. Paul, give it 0. John, give it 2. Michelle give it 4, Rachel give it 5, and yeah, in the end, I like the bits and the bobsies, 6. But I couldn't squeeze any more points out of it. There's no way, because it didn't engage me enough to say, "Oh, that's lovely, Doctor Who." I mean, Rachel, I did watch that TARDIS scene I'd say about 15 times because I love the music, I love the drama, I just don't like the message. So it's a funny one, that one, because it's kind of, I'm willing it on to like.
Yeah, so your sound's gone a bit funny.
It has, you're muffled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
You get kidnapped.
I did hear what you were saying.
Unfortunately.
Oh, no. But you're right. The setup, the cinematography. In fact, the cinematography throughout was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The direction of it was pretty good. You know, that scene, those angles of the TARDIS. Now, that was an expensive TARDIS interior.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to see what they spent the money on with that TARDIS. Why aren't they utilizing it like that in the other stories? You know, and
I mean, yeah.
RTD doesn't like spending time in the TARDIS, but in that one they did.
He probably thought he was going to do that when he got to year 7 or year 8 because it was going to be all so successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, if my mic's a bit dodgy, I won't say too much, but there's the
That's the
scores.
only thing about you that's dodgy.
17 out of 50, therefore it gets 34%. So what? Dun, 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 dun. Shall I build it up one more time?
Yeah, drum roll.
Starts doing Thunderbirds music then.
You really?
There we go then. So the totals are, see, got 61 did Lucky Day. So 61, and if you see, so that's 40% of what it could have got. So basically, I'll go bigger for this. You can see the 4 we've scored so far. Robot Revolution got 82, Lux got 58, The Well got 101, and Lucky Day just pips Lux into 3rd place.
Isn't it funny how it's almost reflective of the overnight scores?
Yeah, I know. And remember, the judgments have been...
Mm-hmm.
Paul, for example, sent me his results yesterday. Rachel, I know you do yours for your stream as well. So you've already locked it in, so to speak, and then you send them to me. John did it early this morning, and I don't think any of us... Well, I know that's true. We weren't led by the ratings, and neither was Michelle. We just say what we see.
Yeah. Mine's all done before the ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating, isn't it? So the context, of course, is the highest score out of all of New Who is still The Well. But if we give 61, we think this was worse than Dot and Bubble and just above 73 yards. And if you think about the style of it, it's similar to 73 yards, and we give it within 4 points.
Sorry, I'm laughing. It was better than Dot. It was worse than Dot and Bubble. What happened? What happened?
So there you go, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We've given it our best shot. I think we think it tanked. Unlucky for some.
Oh dear. We thought it think tanked.
It did. And do remember, me and John will do a think tank on Thursday, and there'll be other little prize items. And Rachel, come on, you're up to mischief on your channel. What you doing?
Yes. So in a moment, in a nanodot, I'm going to record my ratings, and that will be up hopefully within the next hour. I didn't get time to do that when I got home from work, unfortunately, but that's okay. And then tomorrow, I'm going to have a look at the open letter that was made by people in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do.
Busy
Oh,
bee.
yeah. That's all to do with the Supreme Court ruling. Just to be more specific there, because people were like, what's she talking about?
And John, we'll have to come up with another little session there. Target next, I think we'll do. Target.
Yes, yeah. Can I do it in the nude?
Oh, heck.
Well,
Does
the
everybody?
reason why I asked that, Willie Stoker came on there, or came on without any trousers.
Did he?
He did.
Oh, I mean, I'll have a word with him. Thanks, Jess, for buying him trousers. We'll order some of them. Paul, are you up for this next week? You can see we're getting naughty and mischievous.
Very much so. Yes, please. Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking. Also, could I say, John, I really enjoyed that. Enjoy isn't perhaps the right word, but I was really affected by the magazine video that you and Brendan did. I think a lot of people feel like that, and I think a lot of people are having to make that decision.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that yet.
Oh,
I
listen,
never had a subscription to it because
Yeah,
my
it's
parents couldn't afford it. But
it's such a sad event. You know, I have every single issue of this thing. Every
Yes, indeed.
single issue.
Indeed.
And to make the decision not to buy it anymore was long and hard and heartfelt. But I'm just sick and tired of the whole kit and caboodle, you know. But go and watch it. Go and watch it. Brendan and I have a good time of being nostalgic too. It's very positive because we look back on the history of this thing, and there's a lot to be positive about on the history of this thing.
Okay, then. So thanks for tuning in. That's 3 shows in 20 hours. I think we'll have a day off now. So thank you, everybody. And
Happy May Day, everybody.
yes.
All the best, guys.
Enjoy.
All the best. See you next
Bye,
week.
everybody.
Bye now, folks.
bye everyone. Thank you.